States where you are, for instance, Arnold Schwarzenegger cannot become president of the United States because he wasn't born here, but he is a citizen here. He can do anything. He cannot become president. You can put in guardrails and you open up and let people come in. Just like you said, Russell, the people are taking away the money because we put too much difficulty in our way to develop Liberia, so to take it elsewhere. If you allow them to develop the country and own property and do whatever, that country is gonna benefit enormously. I think this is childish. We're burying our heads in the sand here. You were talking about 27B, when in fact 27B is being gutted. What it seeks to protect is happening every day in Liberia.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Do you think that private property is development? Is that something that's development if someone builds a house?
What? Not only just private property, but the capacity to come in and invest openly.
Invest in what way? Because I think they're already investing.
They're already investing, but they're not allowed. They have to go through hoops to own private property in Liberia, to own a business. I mean, to own land, to build and all of that. Like I think Elvis or Dr. Malice described. They're going through third parties and all of that. We know a lot of the Lebanese case. Their parent put the mulatto case who's mother Lebanese or father Lebanese and Liberian. They put the project, but they don't have to do that again. The law permits them to do that. They can come in and buy the whole place and build a factory and employ people. They're having difficulties doing that. And I think the ordinary people are suffering because of this law.
Thank you. Elvis, what do you have to say about that? I mean, if you do agree with this provision and let it be that way, is there anything else that we can change? Because there are a lot of loopholes that even though it does not permit people of a different race to become citizens, but we can see that they massively benefit from the country.
All right, thank you. Look, I think we made a mistake in recent times. And one of the mistakes we made, I think, was doing the dual citizenship push. And one of the provisions within that bill allowed women to pass their citizenship to their kids who are descendants of non-Negro parents. And that was something that was pushed by the Lebanese and lobbied for. One of the things that's going on in Liberia right now is lobbying. These guys are lobbying our politicians, like our former president, the likes of Musa Bility, who have a close relationship with a lot of these Lebanese and Indian people, and they're lobbying them, to push this to pass so that they can gain citizenship. But let me go back to the last point I was making. So now the loophole is a guy, and I'm going to be crass here for a second. A guy can sleep with a Liberian woman, have a kid with her, not marry her, throw her by the wayside, marry maybe his Lebanese wife or Indian wife, and that kid now is his gateway into owning property in Liberia. So that kid is just like I don't even want to describe what the kid would be referred to as, but that kid now is a gateway to owning property. So he has his Lebanese family or his Indian family with one Liberian child that he had with some Liberian girlfriend that he had. And now he said, well, my son, who is of a Liberian mother and a Lebanese father, I'm going to buy properties or I'm going to build properties and put it in his name. And that's why the provision in our Constitution was put there. These men were visionary. We may have disagreed with them domestically within the country with certain policies that was prejudice against us. But in the spirit of the provision, I'm united with them in that spirit of the provision, because the reality is, if you don't protect yourself, you leave yourself open, for exploitation. The point here is that laws don't defend themselves. You have to defend the law. You have to defend your Constitution. So if you think that a law is written and it's not being enforced, then you criticize the law. The law itself can't do anything unto itself. You have to go and enforce that law. The criticism should be on the government, that they're not doing enough to uphold our Constitution. So if they're not protecting what the Constitution says, that's the government's fault. Our laws are excellently written. They're there to protect us as Liberians. And if it's enforced, we should be reaping the benefit. But it's our politicians who are bought and sell themselves and the souls of other Liberians to foreigners. That's the criticism that we should be having here. And lastly, I will say this, right? Look, if a Lebanese man starts a business and he's doing something shady, he maybe buys land and he builds a big hotel, like somebody said, and he's reaping benefit from that hotel, and he didn't transfer that hotel in somebody's name legitimately, he's committing a crime. Legally, it's not legal for him to do that. So just saying that somebody is doing a crime and getting away with it and thereby the law is useless, that's a flawed argument. The reality is we should push our government to enforce the laws. Many Liberians in the West was advocating for dual citizenship because they feel like their kids were being disenfranchised because they couldn't own land if they couldn't have certain rights. They weren't born in Liberia and the parent had taken up a different citizenship. That should have been the crux of that whole issue, not to include women giving their citizenship to parents of non-Negro descent, of their kids. And that was not fought by Liberians. It was fought by for Lebanese and Indians who wanted that provision put in that bill, and it successfully got it. So now it has opened the door a little bit for them to have property through their kids. But again, the kids, are the ones who can own property, not the parents, essentially. But look, Mr. Namwe and Dr. Mali, I will tell you this. Our unique history puts us in a unique place in the history of Africa. And as a person who is who lives in the West, or some people here who may have citizenship in this country, remember, Black Americans in this country, they didn't get citizenship until the late 1800s. Liberia was formed in 1847. So Black Africans on the continent who left this country had citizenship before the people who were living in this country had citizenship through the 14th amendment in the 1800s, in the late 1800s. So if you understand the history of the United States of America, now that we can have citizenship in this country as Black people, that wasn't afforded to us when Liberia was formed, even in this country. So the spirit of the law makes sense that you don't want your oppressors to come back in your own native land on the continent of Africa and start oppressing you economically, start oppressing you socially, start doing some of the same things that's happening in the United States, where they build exclusive neighborhoods and you can't live there. You're seeing it in South Africa, you're seeing it in other places where they build resorts and I hate to say it, your Black behind can't even step foot there unless you're of a certain class and caliber. So our country now becomes segregated based on money interest. So if you don't see that, and you don't see that's where the future is going to take us when we make these people citizens, and I'm sorry for us and our future generation, because it doesn't just hurt us. It hurts our kids who are coming up, who now realizes that, well, that neighborhood, that Lebanese people neighborhood can go there. Or you see that business center over there, you can go there. Same thing.
Just a quick question to Elvis.
How many ordinary Liberia you think can live in the Maba Point?
Hold on one second, just a quick question to Elvis. Would you agree that some of these disenfranchises that you speak of, they're currently happening regardless of foreigners not being citizens?
It's currently happening, but the one retort we have is the Constitution. And I keep saying this because if our government decided to take drastic actions and say, look, everything that's going on here is illegal. As a Lebanese, you're not allowed to own these properties. They should be held by Liberian. I want to see the deed. Your Liberian child.
It is our Constitution that is the problem then, because it's not being enforced.
No, it's not being enforced. So we're protected, even though they're doing it, and it seems like it's going back on check. But once the action is to be taken, we can hide behind the protection of our Constitution that says that it is prohibited for these people to own properties. Even if they're packed in this one area, the land doesn't belong to them. They're only renters. They can't own the property. So that's the thing that's protecting us. It's not that because they're doing it means that it's enshrined in our Constitution. It's not. So once we have a government that says, look, what you're doing is illegal, we're going to enforce our Constitution. You must relinquish this property in deed, not only in name, but in deed to your child. And if he decides to, do whatever he wants to do, that's fine. But you don't own this property. Your child owns the property. If we do that, I think that then we are upholding our Constitution. Until we do that, this is just a mouth talk. Not because everybody is doing it, Mr. Number, means that automatically becomes law. Illegality doesn't ubiquity doesn't supersede legality. Not because everybody is doing it means it's legal. That's not how the law works.
Thank you.
I'll pass the mic, Anthony.
Dr. Jones.